Hey guys, Artosis here, bringing you more RISS. This is game number 4 in a best of 7 between Bonyth and Sziky. As you can see up top, Bonyth actually leads 3-0. I gotta say, that last game very much impressing me. If you didn't get to see it, definitely do check that out, the video previous to this one. Really well done, well executed final attack there from Bonyth. Just nailing the one weak point in Sziky's defense. Has to be frustrating for Sziky. I mean, I know Bonyth is a really good player, but to go down 0-3 in a best of 7, you have to reverse sweep here as Sziky, and that does not seem too realistic, right? Like it's making me a little bit nervous that this is just going to end right here, right now. But we'll see about that. We're on Polypoid now. Polypoid, like, I like it for ZERG versus Protoss, I think, overall. There's some cool aspects to it for ZERG, and, like, one very challenging aspect, I think, for Protoss, right? So, a lot of this, you'll see it in just a second, because he's going to go ahead and make the gateway and then send the probe. Oh, I guess he goes to the left. But anyways, this area, I'm sure you guys all know. You watch enough games. You know there's a third base here on high ground that's mineral only, right? Okay, so we are going to see it, because this is the fourth base location that has a gas, right? So this is, like... It's got the ramp, so it's pretty easily defendable, but it's a little bit off to the side. So generally, Protoss has to take that as their fourth. So a lot of times what you see is the third base at a mineral, and then eventually you take a fourth base as Protoss, and you finally get that gas. We saw a similar thing in the previous game. That's like, it's a pretty common thing on a lot of modern 4-player maps, where the third base, like you'll have 4 base quadrants, and the third base will be a mineral base, right? So... just getting the third gas really rolling can be a little bit difficult for Protoss sometimes. Whereas bases like this become impenetrable for ZERG. What you do is you expand, you build a few sunkens, you spread out lurker, and you're on the high ground. And like when you put all that together, it's incredibly hard for Protoss to ever bust that. Dragoons hate attacking uphill. They just hate it. They shoot so slowly when they're missing a few shots. The amount of damage that they're taking that is consistently being dealt is really painful. So yeah, we'll see if that comes into play. The one thing to mention is that Sziky's base, like, this is a rotationally symmetric map, so that impenetrable place is here, which means there is like a little avenue that could be utilized in here, but of course you always get kind of drawn towards the high ground if they're like microing hydras down and up, down and up, down and up, right? So there's a lot of play still, but just saying, I think that Sziky can win. This is my convoluted, overly wordy way to say that I hope and I think it is possible for this game, this series to continue beyond Game 4. So anyways, Bonyth right now just getting a bit of harassment here with his gateway opener. Ooh, almost gets that drone, but not quite. Good pull away, good pull away. As long as you're not losing the drones, you're pretty happy. All right, 6 lings, so he's going to be able to come in here now. Ooh, I love that pullback. Waits for the other lings to catch up. Beautifully done. That was very clean right there. The probe will stay alive here for Bonyth. Third base going up. Okay. Meanwhile, back at home, Bonyth was forced into getting his forge and cannon before the cybernetic score, so it's not one of those... really quick tech builds that we sometimes see from Protoss nowadays. Let's see on Sziky's side as he begins to mine his gas. Is he going to try something cheeky like a 3-hatch Hydra? Or will we see him just go up to that layer tech? I don't think we'll see a 3-hatch Hydra. Like, he has 1 ling right now chasing this probe. I feel like he would have brought these back already to try to help sandwich it, to help catch it, because if the probe is alive and scouting everything, you can't go 3-hatch Hydra because you just get behind, right? The probe will see, they'll just easily make enough cannons and you can't do anything. So see, he just makes a layer right in the probe's face. So Bonyth going to be feeling really comfortable here. There's nothing aggressive coming. He sees drones hatching still. So you don't really need to add additional cannons, right? Like, you have 1 cannon. Normally I see like a second cannon eventually added just for safety's sake. We'll see on that, but everything looking pretty solid scouting-wise for Bonyth. So finally does end up losing that probe as the lings come back to help. Zergling speed is on the way. 4 more lings are on the way. I don't think he'll make more lings than that, but let's see. Like, I mean, sometimes that's the funny thing about Zerg players. Yeah, he does start more. Oh my gosh. You know, that crazy aggressive decisiveness is oftentimes what makes a great Zerg player great, honestly. Like, that's how Jadon came to be known. A lot of the strongest Zergs are very aggressive players. It's really different to play it more like a Larva or a Sulky or something, right? Where it's like, okay, there's some aggression, but it's much more the macro-oriented approach. Now, honestly, he didn't make as many as I thought. He made 5 drones after that additional group of lings I mentioned. But he has got more than enough to just demolish these Protoss Zealots. So the Zealots are retreating. Looks like Sziky's still going to catch them. Yeah, I think it's a really good choice. To reduce the Zealot count right now is very, very nice before they get that +1, before they get that Zealot legs. And good micro there from Bonyth. Does his best he can with what he's got. Not much here, but I don't think he actually made enough to break. Now, one thing to mention is Hydraless speed is on the way. Hydras are being made, so that's something that you're going to want to look out for here as Bonyth. You know, I think he will have to add like a couple more cannons, especially when he gets up here and sees the Hydras popping. Now, the Hydras don't necessarily mean a rush or a bust is coming, although, of course, pre-storm bust timings, as I like to call them, right? When you're trying to attack right before Psystorm is done, that is a very hard thing for Protoss to hold. But sometimes you can just skip Spire and utilize the Hydras as anti-Corsair and macro up. It's definitely something we've seen in the past. Now, a couple more cannons, several more cannons being made here from Bonyth. A lot of Hydras coming up. You might look at this and say, why are they being made so far back? Well, these are all going to fire at the same time. If you put this one here, can this one go up as far? You know, and if they're up too close, the Hydras can actually snipe them a lot easier. If the Hydras have to walk all the way up to the building, first off, you have to use a move command and not accidentally click on the building. See how my cursor goes? It's actually harder than it looks, okay, to get the Hydras exactly where you want. And then the Zealots can come out and get better hits. So, yeah, very well placed. He's kept them kind of far back. The one thing is he's going to want this to finish before it goes down. Hydralisk range is almost done, so we will be able to start pelting the Forge. I believe +1 will finish right before he can kill that Forge off, though. All right, legs almost done. Storm on the way. +1 air attack still being made. 2 Corsairs sitting outside this base. Still no Spire or anything, just to mention. The Zealots come out for a moment. Kill a Hydra. They have to back up. And there's that +1 finishing up so nicely for Bonyth. We don't see the Forge really attacked at all. He doesn't have that many Hydras down here, so the Zealots could pose a problem. +1 armor gets started. Looks like he doesn't think that it's going to be picked off at all at this point. And there's the Spire finally. Now, normally when you see the Spire added at a time like this, and by the way, the Corsairs scout it immediately as it starts. When you see this, a lot of times that means that the Zerg is thinking about, okay, I'm going to switch just into a little group of mutas and pick off High Templars. That's normally what that Spire is for at this time. So we'll see if Bonyth does anything drastic against that. You know, we were talking about the Maelstrom before. That is something he could do. He could continue to make, you know, Corsairs. But I feel like the more likely thing is as +1 finishes, he probably will start Dragoon range and just make a lot of Dragoons. Now, we'll see about that, but, you know, he's got a couple Corsairs. You add in some Dragoons, you add in a Psystorm, and you're not going to be quite as afraid anymore. Now, another Corsair does get started. You know, you do have that +1 air weapons now, so never too bad to add a few of those in if you think mutas are going to be coming out. A lot of Zealots being produced. Also, the Robo on the way wants to get those Observers out to help bust any Lurkers, and the Lurker upgrade is coming for Sziky, who, by the way, comes down with his Hydraling, trying to get some extra damage onto these Zealots. And the Corsairs just kind of diving in, seeing what they can see. Dragoon range is being made. Yeah, enough Zealots, just enough here to get out and really mess with the Hydra. Surrounds one there. I always love to watch these types of moves. Feels like a little bit of mismicro there for a moment for Bonyth. I think something else drew his attention. But as more Hydras come down, you gotta back up with this. This is the, you know, the tug of war, the back and forth, the to and fro of Zealots versus Hydras at this point in the game. You're trying to have that extra group come out, pick off some Hydras, then the Hydra rallies come down, they push you back, so on and so forth, losing a few units back and forth. And if anyone missteps there, their opponent gains a pretty sizable advantage. So really reasonable to continually do. By the way, the Corsair is actually doing insanely well. That's crazy. They just got like 3 Overlord kills in a row. Look at this supply block, 82 of 70. That's painful for Sziky right now. Now, Bonyth, what is the next game plan here? He's adding those additional gateways. So right now he's going up to 7. He has 5 Gate Goon producing right now. His +1 armor is almost done. He's already got those 4 High Templars that we talk about a lot in PvZ. Gonna have to kill this cannon. I'm sure he'll notice in a moment. Very important to do, though. A lot of times you do have to clean out that type of thing, that type of early game defense. Happens in, well, maybe it doesn't really happen as ZERG very often, but it happens with Terran a lot as well, where you might kill off your turrets after the mutas are done, or you might kill off your bunker after early game in Terran vs. Terran or Terran vs. Protoss. Yeah, even Terran vs. ZERG occasionally. Anyways, right now, the Corsair's on the run from a little group of Scourge that snuck up on them, it looks like. Bonyth getting ready for this additional base. He has killed off that cannon now. Ooh, you gotta be careful there. Runs out with a few Dragoons, but obviously a few Dragoons don't do well. Dragoons, you know, a great unit, but they need support units. Dragoons alone don't do very much. You need like a real critical mass to make them work. But as soon as you add in Zealots or Storms, they become so much more powerful. It's just basically every unit in the ZERG army beats Dragoons. Like, Hydras wreck them, Lings wreck them, so you need something, and Zealots are generally the something that kind of tanks and deals that extra damage and allows the Goons to get those really long-range shots off. It's a funny unit in this matchup. I really enjoy the way that it functions, like watching it. Now, Hydra Lurker coming down the map. Several Overlords here as well for sniping observers, and obviously detection in case there's a DT or something, but really this is more about sniping those observers. Doesn't get any right there. Nice storm goes down, forcing the Hydras back. There's another good storm. Bonyth doing a great job taking the battle to Sziky here. I did not expect exactly this. Ooh, a couple of High Templars die that actually had pretty high energy. A third one dies as well. That is painful. That is painful. 3 High Templars falling. And, well, Bonyth going to continue his attack. He really has a lot of Dragoons here. Not a lot of those support units, so it does make me a little bit nervous. He's going to have 1 Storm, and he has 2 Zealots, so he can't really go up here. Has to back up a little bit. That's a lot of Hydras. Okay, now here comes some more Zealots to help out, and there's that big storm. Wow, and was it a big storm? Look at that. 5 additional Hydras end up falling. The Zealots come up from the south. But the Hydras, you know, they are starting to gun down these Dragoons. You can kind of see what I was talking about before. Even though it seems like it's a lot of Dragoons, as soon as they don't have anything there tanking for them or dealing massive damage like Psystorm, they start to lose because they really just don't beat anything by themselves. So Bonyth going to run them home. He has his 3rd base up, not mining yet, setting the probes now, setting up that 4th base as well. Like I was talking about, you use this to kind of like alley-oop yourself into this base. Now, during all this, looks like he did send the Corsairs back out for some harassment. Doesn't work out. Plenty of Hydras there to fend them off. Quite a big group of units here from Sziky thinking about coming up to kill this base, and it looks like it should work easily. There's no real units here to help. A single Zealot, of course, not going to do anything. The cannon's not warped in yet. He's going to have to cancel this base. Yeah, you can't save that one, unfortunately, especially with the double Lurker. Very, very painful, right? This is the pain of Protoss on a map like this, is getting this Nexus up and keeping it alive. He's brought everything back to try to save it, but I think Sziky, if he's going to lose the fight, you just right-click on the Nexus for a second. And there you go. He's going to kill it off. And so it's like, okay, well, you lost a bunch of army trying to save this, and you lost it. So this just wasn't good overall, unfortunately. Another attack coming up from Sziky into this 3rd base. Oh my god! Gets the most insane Lurker shots. And honestly, that should be it. Bonyth just... he's going to be stuck now. He's got a few High Templars. Yeah, I mean, I guess he has 6 High Templars right now, so that's like something. But Sziky is solidly on 4 bases. The attack continues forward. GG is called, and Sziky gets himself on the board. All right, so as we go into game number 2, we are on the map Cross Game. Not a super well-known map, but it was on the ladder a while ago. And it looks like Bonyth here going for a somewhat late forge into a very quick Nexus against the pool first from Sziky. Now, he has 6 Lings already in production, but if I'm not mistaken, Bonyth's timing here should allow him to get cannons up in time to prevent Zergling damage. Now, he's not across the map yet, so, you know, it's going to take him a moment to figure out what's going on. A probe already coming up, starts the cannon instantaneously, which is actually incredibly important. Of course, the drone starts attacking, which makes it a little bit nerve-wracking. Now, the Lings, he does end up seeing here. Looks like he's going to drill the probe back home. He may utilize this to block the Lings a little bit. There are some micro tricks you can do. Notice how these Lings in the back are being slowed slightly by Bonyth there. Definitely an important thing to mention. Now, probes coming up to help block. So important here. The drone actually does a little extractor trick to get its health back. Let's see if these Lings can get in. No, the cannon finishes just as they get there. Just really well executed here from Bonyth. In fact, keeping his probe out, chasing the drone. Just craziness right now. And, well, I guess we will see if Sziky can make anything happen. You know, it seems like he doesn't know the map all that well. He did ask at the beginning what this was, and Bonyth did mention that it was a ladder map at some point. You know, it was a long time ago. It was many years ago. I think Sziky may have been inactive at the time. He came back a little bit more recently, but to describe the map a little bit, right? Like, you have a low ground main coming up to a ramped natural, and then you have a third base possibly here. This is probably more likely a fourth, and this is a third that's at the bottom of a giant ramp. And then this is a huge part of the map, is this tall grass. You don't see this type of thing very much in StarCraft 1. This is much more a StarCraft 2 type of terrain feature, but you don't have vision on the other side of this, right? Like, you have to walk through it. So, yeah, kind of interesting. But yeah, as far as openings go, you definitely have to give Bonyth a little tiny bit of an advantage. That early spawning pool with the 6 Lings really not doing much. Some lost mining time, forcing that cannon up, but that's about it. Now, Bonyth running around with this probe, he sees the layer has been started, which is incredibly important for him to see. He doesn't want, you know, to get overrun by, you know, extra Zerglings that are being made or a possible 3-hatch Hydra, although on a map like this, it's much less likely. When someone has a ramped natural, generally rushes die down quite a bit. It's just so much easier to defend at the ramp, right? Now, this cannon's pretty far back, so like maybe the Hydra rush, the Hydra bust could still occur. But again, much less likely to try it on a map like this. Now, the one Zealot coming across the map, this is for scouting intel, for forcing Lings, making sure that your opponent's not being too greedy. Obviously, he already had those 6 Lings, so it's not that big an issue for Sziky to deal with. And Bonyth just running it around, getting all sorts of information. Of course, it will be picked off, and I don't really expect it to kill much. Maybe it can kill one more Ling, but that's probably about it. The layer is done. We'll see if he starts that Spire. And he does. The Spire going up, as well as the Stargate here. And no Citadel yet, but we'll probably see that as the next building. There it is. All right, so pretty standard stuff after that early Zergling opening. Now, Zergling speed is done, and Sziky just spreading his Lings all throughout the map right now. I don't think he's going to do anything aggressively with the Zergling speed. It's just a good upgrade to have, and sometimes when you get it, though, it's like, it can point towards Mutalisks being the plan. So wouldn't be super surprised if Sziky goes towards those Mutas, right? Like, slow Lings are just so weak, and if you're going directly into Hydras, maybe you don't need speed on the Lings, but if you are planning on something like Mutalisks, that's going to help you to clean up things like Zealots that come out to buy Protoss time. Now, the first Corsair has just popped out. It is going across the map right now, and he is getting the +1 attack for it. So definitely some good anti-air coming in for Bonyth, but of course, you can't know for sure if your opponent's going Spire. One thing to mention, this is a quick second gas. If he were going for a Hydralisk-based play, it's less likely this gas would be up this quickly. So when Bonyth sees this, it'll certainly be in his calculations that it's more likely to be some sort of Mutalisk build. In fact, we can see in the production tab here that Mutas are on the way. It looks like they are getting ready to pop out of here. In fact, some Scourge very close to popping out. He's got to make sure that he does not lose this Corsair. If you lose that first Corsair, ZERG gets a huge advantage. Oh my god, he gets it exactly in time. So the 2 Scourge should not be able to catch this Corsair as it goes back to those photon cannons. One being made right next to the Stargate. Really, really good placement there. You know, it's certainly a tactic that we see ZERGs use, where they fly 2 Scourge and just sit them where a Corsair comes out if they have those Mutalisks. So this will prevent that. No secondary cannon, so there's still a possibility. You know, if you have these Mutas, let's say you have 6 Scourge with these, and you fly in and you right-click the cannon with the Mutas, you can just kind of clone the Scourge onto the Corsairs, and it's kind of hard for Protoss to deal with. Doesn't seem, though, like that's what Sziky's plan is. He has this small group of Mutas, 5 Mutalisks right now, so he does want to one-shot probes. That is what that number is for, and let's see how much damage it gets done. Ooh, this one dodging the glaives very, very well right now. As the Corsairs come up, he does back off, but kills a few probes there at least, so not bad as far as that harassment goes. You can see Bonyth right now trapping his probe purposefully in the back here so he can stack those Corsairs up. It's just like the Overlord trick, but you don't have anything that slow-moving with Protoss, so you do it with a probe. Now, looking at Bonyth's side, he's already got his +1 attack, and he's got his Zealot speed. Going into that +1 armor, continuing the Corsair production, and we have the Templar Archives coming up as well. Looking across the map, +1 ranged attack for Sziky, who has switched fully into Hydralisk production. Hydra speed done. Certainly the range upgrade will start next, but this is the most important moment. He has to hold on against this. Of course, don't forget, this is a best of 7. So Bonyth being up 3-1 right now, if he is to take this game, Sziky does end up losing, right? This is a round-robin tournament, though, so it's not like he's out. It's just he's lost the match against Bonyth. So here we go. The Zealots run in, but a beautiful drone drill there on top of the Zealots, preventing them from getting anywhere. The larva being used as well, and that will displace those Zealots. The Zealots really not doing very much. Some Overlords being picked off, so I think this was still a pretty effective attack from Bonyth. Not perfect, of course, as his Zealots died pretty easily, but at least he got a little bit of compensation in the form of Overlords. So it has to be a little bit frustrating there for Sziky. He has enough Hydras. He should be able to push these Corsairs back for now and continue onwards with his tech. Now, oh my god, I missed this during it. Sorry, it looks like we had a Mutalisk counterattack to the natural during all that. Oh my god, look at the probe count, 24. He was over 40 previously, so just like me, it looks like Bonyth was not aware of this going on. Look at this, a beautiful spread on those Mutalisks. And this goes from a situation where I'm like, yeah, everything's fine, to Sziky is crushing right now. He is so far ahead. How do you even fight back as Bonyth here? Like, everything, his economy's destroyed. All right, let's take a look at what he does have. He lost a lot of Zealots. He has a couple going back. Okay, a Dark Templar. Maybe this can swing it somehow if he sneaks it in. 2 High Templars? It just doesn't seem like enough. I mean, that beautiful counter harassment, you know, this happens when you're getting your verbal cues and you're microing heavily that you're under attack. If someone sends in units to harass you elsewhere, like, you might not ever see it. That happens at the pro level quite often. Now the Hydralisk attack coming in, I think that's game, guys. Like, even if you have Size Storm, these High Templars are so out of position. There's no extra units. Like, there's no way the Size Storm can kill all these Hydras. It's a couple great Storms, no doubt. But as you see, there's like 12 Hydras here, and you're not making anything. GG is called, and Sziky takes another map.